Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I am playing a fan favourite. Of course, it is the KV-2, the absolute and utter derp daddy of World of Tanks, tier for tier. Sure, you got silly vehicles like the ISU or the SU-152 at tier 7 that like to use pretty much the same gun that the KV-2 has at tier 6. You got vehicles like the Type 5 Heavy, who are infamous in the game for at one point being completely crazy and OP with their derp, but none more so than the tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, the KV-2. This vehicle was actually way back in the day a tier 5 tank with this turret and this gun. Can you believe that? If you want to see more about that, then I've got a video of before they were nerfed, I believe, on the KV. It's not the KV-1, the KV-2. That's because the tier 5 Soviet heavy tank used to be able to use both guns on the vehicle, and I like to take my chances when I play my KV-2 and do little drive-bys like that on the Panther M10. And when I start a game off like that, you know, you kind of loosen up a little bit, you kind of relax, and hope you know some magic is going to be happening in this game after you can manage to get that kind of RNG at the start. That literal in the sniper mode, aim at the vehicle roughly, even though it was hold down and only exposing its turret, snap on the move and then continue. Yeah, it's going to go pretty well, right, for a game like this. But apparently I can hit a Panther M10 on the move with a full turret turn, but I can't manage to snipe through that kind of like touchdown post there to be able to connect the second shell. Oh well, that's fine. So the KV-2, there are actually a couple of ways you could play this vehicle. You could play it with the 107mm, or you could play it with the 152mm. I guess there would be arguments for either side, but really, there's not. If you aren't using the 152mm on this vehicle, why are you even playing it? If you want to use the 107mm on a tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, why wouldn't you go and play the T-150, which is actually a cracking vehicle for tier 6 because it has the same gun that you would have on a KV-5. So that was a huge misplay by me there, and the reason why that went so wrong is because I didn't realize how these steps exactly worked. With the 7 degrees of gun depression that I believe that the KV-2 has, I'm actually able to depress my gun just enough here. But because I had my tracks wedged one step up too many, I wasn't actually able to depress my gun to be able to hit the Tiger there. And unfortunately, Tigers hit a lot harder these days than they used to. Now I believe they have 280 alpha damage, and so that takes off a sizable amount of my hit points. Talking about a sizable amount of hit points, that Leo doesn't have quite so many left anymore. 435 to that tier 7 Swedish medium tank. And I tell you what, that's not where you want to be losing a third of your hit points to a tank that's lower tier than you, but that's exactly what the KV-2 does. Now, this vehicle, with its high explosive rounds, has got 86mm of penetration. And that is kind of enough to be able to go through the Leo, at least not every single time, but significantly. And the glorious thing about these high explosive rounds is that if you penetrate, you do 900 damage, but if you don't, you still do like 300, 400 damage, and that's why this vehicle is just so brutal. When you start to learn about where the thin plates are on vehicles, like on the T-29, I'd say the T-29 is one of the best heavy tanks tier for tier in the game, but that doesn't stop us from shaving off a third of their hit points by aiming at their weak roof. With the KV-2, with all high explosive rounds, even the lesser ones, the 105mm guns, and even some of the 122mm guns at high tier, knowledge of the thinner plates, i.e. on top of the vehicle, maybe on top of the roof deck, can come in handy. But when somebody gives you their broadside like that, yeah, 86mm of penetration is enough to be able to go through and shut down the tier 5 Soviet heavy tank on the enemy team. So, where I like to shoot with, for example, my E100 when I'm using the derp gun on that vehicle, is I'll try and shoot on top of the vehicle here. You don't need to go for a penetrating shell, but again, 488 damage. Look, the T-29 is great, but we are turning its turret armor into Swiss cheese right about now. Just look on top of this tank, and I guess the T-29 should consider themselves lucky that they still have 8 hit points. It's almost as if they stopped just to go and take a gander at where the holes are on top of their vehicle. I mean, there is improved ventilation inside World of Tanks, and maybe I was trying to help you out a little bit with those 2 shells to the top of the turret, buddy. Probably don't want to take another one of those only on 8 hit points. So now I'm going to try and play this assistance role against this T-29, and I could just fire straight into the side, but oh dear, maybe I didn't aim that one perfectly. I took my chance, thought that maybe I could hit the broadside of the hull of the T-29 there, and that wasn't to be. The KV-2 is a fickle beast. It can seem to hit German tanks on the move in the turret, but it can't manage to hit American tanks in their side unless I'm fully aimed like that. Securing our second kill of the game against a higher tier tank. And this is where just the KV-2 is just awesome, really. Being able to do consistently large amounts of damage to higher tier vehicles that other tier 6 heavies would have a hard time to be able to penetrate reliably just feels absolutely amazing. So right now this game's starting to look a little ugly. We're even though we've managed to do 2,800 damage so far. We can see there's a Challenger and a Rudy who I ping the map to let my team know, yeah, they're probably going to flank. And that Hummel might want to get out of there, right? We've also kind of lost the southeast of this map. Our strength is that we have the town, however, but if the enemies hold the flanks well and we only hold the town, then there's ample opportunity for them to be able to surround us. However, the cap circle is in the town as well, and so we can apply some pressure on the cap to hopefully force them to have to come at us. Alright, looping a shell at a German heavy tank at decent distances, and remember, high explosive rounds don't lose penetration over distance, the same as high explosive anti-tank rounds, and so they're going to splash just as hard as if they were right in front of you. Although, of course, you can't aim at their weaker points at long range. It's pretty much just central mass. Roll the dice and hope. Who am I kidding? Whenever a Soviet tank shoots at a German tank, it's pretty much guaranteed to do significant amounts of damage after it hits, right? RNG doesn't count when there's Soviet bias in the game. At least that's what the community would lead you to believe is evident inside World of Tanks. Okay, so this is where... Oh, we're coming up for an ambush on a tier 6 Polish medium tank, although it can be a Soviet tank as well. Not really too many more vehicles have gone into that wargaming feature, but just aim it right through the side. Woo! 810, but we can't chill, and that's because a Nashorn has managed to come around the corner and rolls for 229 out of 240. So now it's pretty much a 6 out of 10 chance the Nashorn's going to be able to kill me, and I just need to get into cover. No point in even looking at the Nashorn right now. But we seem to have baited them for long enough. We've survived, and wait for their kill shot. 2 one-shots in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are now up to 4,600 damage with the KV-2. And thank goodness that Nashorn didn't manage to get the second shot into us. Otherwise, this would have been a very different kind of game. So I'm just backing off here. I'm wondering whether either the artillery is going to get me, and I don't want the T-25-2 to be able to shoot me down the alleyway. However, I do want to help out my Peter that's stuck inside the cap circle. And there's the artillery who was aiming at me. But here we go. Loop the shell. Yes, 3 one-shots in a row, 603 damage to the higher tier TD there, and oh my word, I was pretty much on cloud 9 after that moment. I think I shouted out a big, "Are you not entertained?" in some kind of like cliche, you know, gladiator kind of manner. But oh my word, talking about getting 2021 off to a good start, right? Was it not enough that we had one of our best games probably at tier 10 of all time in an ST2? Just about a week ago. Looks like I'm setting new targets and new goals for me to be able to achieve, even in vehicles, which, you know, I've played these things a lot. KV-2 is one of those fan favorite tanks that everybody loves to see. And so, of course, when you're a streamer and somebody who creates YouTube videos as well, a YouTuber, is that what they call us? I think sometimes, I've heard a few people say that here and there. Then lots of people want to see you play the KV-2. And I'm pretty sure that if I had it up on the tank poll where everybody gets to vote for what I'm going to play during my streams in the evening, then I'd expect that I'd be playing the KV-2 every single day. Luckily, I managed to block the vehicles out of the tank poll for at least 10 other polls. Otherwise, we'd probably just be seeing KV-2, we'd probably be seeing Type 5 Heavy, we'd be seeing Jagdpanzer 100, FV4005. What is it with people loving heavily armored tanks and heavily armored tanks with really big guns? I guess... isn't that really what people think about when they're considering a tank? They think big gun, thick armor. It's just interesting in World of Tanks that the meta is shifted sometimes away from big guns to rapid fire guns, and not from thick armor but to angled armor, right? So the Challenger manages to shut down the M6 on my team, and I'm just trying to get myself into a position as the cap circle ticks, securing the victory here, and I'm going to fire a chancy shot to hopefully hit the Challenger, but oh well, it wasn't to be. I was not at all phased though. 5 kills and 5,000 damage in the KV-2 in not the best matchup. Oh my word, this was my best KV-2 game of all time. Maybe not from a drama or a kills perspective. Actually, what am I talking about? Not from a drama perspective. I think it was. The fact that we had to one-shot the Rudy and then try and think quick to be able to avoid the Nashorn for as long as we possibly could. We dealt with them. We were like getting tag team from T-29s from the front and from the behind, and then managing to loop the shell over the wreckage into the side of the T-25-2 turret. Yeah. I think this one had enough drama for me. And it's what feels special about the KV-2 is that it just seems to pull off these magical miracle shots that when they hit kind of scratch an itch that you can't get in any other vehicle inside the game. Now today you got to see me play the KV-2R or the KV-2 Premium, but this is how the game should be across the board. The Premium tank is actually statistically identical to the regular vehicle. And so don't immediately assume, just because it's a premium tank, that in this one example, that it's going to be any better than the tech tree vehicle. And so if you are a brand new player to World of Tanks, yeah, you owe it to yourself to at least have a few games in the KV-2. But be warned, it is a little bit filthy. And I think you shouldn't get used to playing this tank, as after too many games, you might forget how to aim in the first place. Anyway, this was a high caliber for our KV-2 for 5,200 damage, which is cutting close to kind of what the rest of our team was able to do between themselves combined. This was 2,035 base experience points. And while the premium vehicle doesn't have any advantages statistically, yeah, economically it does. This was 152,000 credits profit with Wargaming's Holiday Ops event. And of course, one of the other luxuries about this vehicle is that you could use any Soviet heavy tank crew that you wanted. Or alternatively, if KV-2 gameplay was just your absolute and utter thing, you could play in your regular KV-2, and if you suck out and die, you could play your premium KV-2 for constant filthy derp action. And if you're looking for that inside World of Tanks, accept no substitutes, this is the one that you want. And so ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this one. It's not often that I'm managing to get 2,000 base experience in World of Tanks, even if it is in one of the most filthy vehicles in the game. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And oh god, talking about filthy derp tanks, yeah, you've all gone and voted for the Type 5 Heavy. And so if this wasn't quite enough derp action for you on your Sunday, then come along right now, as I'm going to be showcasing the entirety of the Japanese Heavy tech tree with some absolute disgusting derp tanks along the way, and culminating in probably one of the easiest heavy tanks to play at tier 10 in the game is the Type 5. I'll show it off with both guns today. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.